each element of the matrix by minus 1. So, it is same as multiplying the original matrix by scalar minus 1. So, it is scalar multiplication of matrix A by minus 1 and the resulting matrix is what we have just now defined, but instead of K I have taken minus 1. So, this matrix we will call the negative of A or we will call it minus A. Okay, now let us see what is the benefit of defining scalar multiplication. So, we just now give a name to a special kind of diagonal matrix. Let us take a diagonal matrix whose all entries are 1, and we know that diagonal matrix from the very basic definition is a square matrix. So, I have taken a square matrix of order n and its all diagonal entries are taken to be equal to 1. Such a square matrix of order 1 whose all entries are 1 is denoted by In. Using this notation, that is we have just now defined what is meaning of In. So, similarly I3 is a square matrix whose entries in the main diagonal are 1 and other entries are 0. We will just now see it in a moment. And what is the notion of scalar multiplication that we have defined? With help of this notion, let us look into this scalar matrix. See, we have seen just now that this is a scalar matrix. Scalar matrix we have defined to be those diagonal matrix whose all entries are same ya to equal. So, this is a diagonal matrix, that is 3 0 0 0 3 0 and 0 0 3. Now, with the notion of scalar multiplication that we have just now defined, I can write down this matrix, scalar matrix, like this. It is 3 times I3. Now, what is so good about 3? I can do this procedure for any real number k. So, actually you can see that any real number any real number k, or you can take any complex number c, is sitting inside the set of n cross n square matrices like this. Okay, so now after defining addition and scalar multiplication, we now move to the last step, which will give us the guarantee that the set of all m by n complex matrices are actually forming a vector space. So, these are the properties of addition. So, let us list them. The first property says, I have not written, but it means that if you replace the matrices A, B and C by real numbers A, B, C, it means that addition is associative. That is all. Then I have written that A plus 0 is same as 0 plus A. Now, 0, remember, here is the 0 matrix that we have just now defined. It means that there is a element which works like an additive identity. Okay. Then we have also just now seen what is negative of a matrix, that is given a matrix how to define minus A. Then it is a simple calculation which gives us that addition of A and minus A and minus A and A is going to give you the 0 matrix. Now, which 0 matrix? So, it is dependent upon what is the size of matrix A. If A is a matrix of size m by n, then 0 is a matrix of size m by n. Similarly, you can see this property D, that see, while defining addition of matrices, actually we have taken help of addition of complex number, ya to we have taken help of addition of real numbers. Since this procedure, that is adding of complex numbers and adding of real numbers, is commutative, the matrix addition is commutative, there is nothing new about it. Next, the way in which we have defined scalar multiplication of matrices, see that alpha times A plus B is going to be equal to alpha times A plus alpha times B. I will just prove one of this and rest will be left for you to verify. And the property number F that we have written, that is alpha plus beta times A is same as alpha times A plus beta times A. And finally, if you first multiply the scalars alpha and beta and then perform the scalar multiplication of alpha and beta with the matrix A, and either you first multiply the matrix A by scalar beta and then again multiply the resultant matrix, that is, let us call it beta A, by alpha, the results remain same. So, that means you can say that property G says that scalar multiplication is associative. Okay. So, now let us try to give the proof of property G. I am giving this proof just to demonstrate what are the techniques that are needed to give proofs of results in this particular aspect. Let us try to see what is property G. Property E. He says that alpha times A plus B is same as alpha A plus alpha B. So, what I have taken is, I have now taken the ijth entry of A plus B and I have seen what is alpha times A plus B's ijth entry. Now, by the very basic definition of A plus B, it is equal to the corresponding ijth entry of matrix A and matrix B. So, I have over here that alpha A ij plus alpha B ij. Now, see, this is how the scalar multiplication is defined. So, from this step to this step I have come because it is the basic definition of scalar multiplication, and this gives me the information that alpha times A plus B is equal to alpha A plus alpha B. So, similarly you can prove the rest of the results. Equipped with this theorem, now it is a very simple fact to verify that the set of all m by n matrices over C, I have not given the name to this set, but we understand now that what is this set exactly. You collect all those m by n matrices whose entries are complex numbers and then take the two operations that we have just now defined, operation of addition and operation of scalar multiplication. Then theorem 1 that we have just now given the proof only of one property, but others you can prove, says that this is a vector space. So, after this much amount of discussion, that is after introducing what is matrices, after introducing the addition of two matrices, and after defining scalar multiplication of matrices, we have at least in our hands a new vector space. Now, there are many vector spaces of this kind because you change m and n. So, you take the set of all 2 by 3 matrices, it is a vector space. You take a set of all 3 by 2 matrices, it is a vector space. You take set of all 2 by 2 matrices, that is square matrices, it is a vector space. So, there is a plethora of examples which come from this theorem. Question that I have not addressed is the following, that you should try to find it out that what will be the dimension of the vector space that is given by theorem 2. I leave it as an exercise to prove that this vector space will have dimension m into n. Okay. So, now let us go further and define another operation with matrices. This is a bit complicated than the operation of addition and scalar multiplication that we have just now defined. So, what is the basic requirement for multiplication of matrices? Now, look over here, whenever we are adding two real numbers, we do not bother at all. Whenever we are adding two matrices, we just bother that both of them should be of the same size. But now, when we are performing the multiplication of two matrices, we should be careful. The matrix A should be of the size m by n, that should be, it is a matrix of order m by n, and matrix B is a matrix of order n by p. What is important is this, that this n and p, n over here and n over here should match. That means number of columns in matrix A should be equal to number of rows in matrix B. That is the prime requirement. M and P can be any natural numbers, but this n over here and n over here should match. That means to say that number of columns of matrix A should be same as number of rows of matrix B. If this is the fact, then the product is defined to be a M cross P matrix and its ijth entry is defined like this. Now look over here, that I will range from 1 se lekar M, because now the product is defined to be in the very definition a M by P matrix. So the values of I will range over 1 se lekar M and the values of J will range from 1 to P. Now ijth entry is defined like this. It is actually multiplying the ith row of A by jth column of B. So let us understand with help of an example. So while taking the example, I am also demonstrating that don't be taken by the fact that complex multiplication is commutative, because we are defining matrix multiplication in a rather awkward way. We should expect this kind of things, that if you are given two matrices which can be multiplied in the sense that the conditions which are given in the definition are satisfied. Now if you want to be content always that two matrices which I am talking about are fitting into the structure of definition of multiplication, you should always take them to be square matrices of same order. So the problem of checking whether column of the first matrix and rows of the second matrices match, you take both of them to be matrices of same order, which I have done over here. So I have taken D and E, two square matrices of order 2. Now let us try to see what is D times E and what is E times D. So look over here, see the multiplication of these two matrices is written over here. The first element is found like this: multiply the first element of the first matrix by the first element of the second matrix. So it is 1 multiplied by 0. It is A11 multiplied by B11. Then it is A12 multiplied by B21. So this multiplication is going to give me 0. Similarly, the other entry is found like this. It is found as follows: multiply the corresponding entries of first row and second column. So this multiplication is going to give me 1 into 1 is 1 plus 0 into 0 is 0. So the total is 1. Similarly, the second row and first column element is found out like this. It is obtained by multiplying the second row with first column, and you will get the result to be equal to -1. And similarly, the last entry is found by multiplying the second row with the second column, and you can see that the sum is equal to 0. Now just swap these two matrices. So this is D and this is E, and now I am just swapping them and see what is the result of the multiplication. You can just check it out, the calculation, and you can see that the result is this matrix. Now let us try to check whether these two values are same or not as matrices. We have just now seen that two matrices, first of all, if they are to be compared, they should be of the same order. Here both these matrices are of same order, actually they are square matrices of order 2. Okay. Now see, the corresponding entries in the first row and first column are same, but look over here, the entry in the first row and second column is different for both these two matrices. That's why we have this fact that D is not equal to ED. So from over here we are now content that since this is true for a 2 cross 2 matrix, we cannot say that matrix multiplication wherever possible is commutative. Okay, let us observe one more property in matrix multiplication. You know following is true for complex numbers. So take up two complex numbers, and if you know that multiplication of these two complex numbers is the 0 complex number, then if you are given the information that one of them is non-zero, here I have taken the information that alpha is non-zero. So for example, you take alpha equal to I and beta equal to 0. So I times 0 is equal to 0, but I is not equal to 0, है ना. So similarly what we should have is beta is equal to 0. Now let us try to see if such a result holds true for matrix multiplication or not. Question makes sense. Why? Because we have defined what is a 0 matrix. Just now we have defined what is a 0 matrix. Actually we have defined 0 matrix of order m by n. So now let us try to see if that is true or not. So let us take two matrices, both of them are non-zero. Okay, I have taken two matrices, both of them are non-zero. I have non-zero in the sense that both of them are not null matrices, that is both of them are not 0 matrices. So look over here, I have not given names to these matrices. This matrix is a square matrix of order 2. This matrix is also a square matrix of order 2, but the first row and second column entry of this matrix is non-zero, and for the second matrix first row and first column entry is non-zero. That's why these two matrices are non-zero matrices. Okay, now let us try to see the multiplication. It is a simple calculation to check that the matrix multiplication will give you the